Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. uh, this, I don't, there's parts in this episode where I just don't really understand the direction of what they were doing. In some ways, this kind of feels like a bit of a filler episode, which is a shame because, well, in a lot of ways, I feel like you're kind of wasting everyone's time to an extent. So we're going to talk about Anna, Robert, and eventually Felicia and Mac. Now, before I get into Felicia and Mac, because I got a I got a lot of issues with this whole scene. I think they could be good characters when you know how to use them. They could be very good supporting characters when they're used properly. You know, when Felicia came in to save her daughter, um, that whole scene with her, not taking Anna's advice to stay behind and be like, yo, listen, I'm gonna sit there and go out and rescue my daughter. This is what I'm gonna do. Scenes like that make these characters worth watching. So, so first you got Robert and Anna, and they're arguing about which one to watch on Hulu. Every time I want to sit there and watch General Hospital at 8 o'clock, and I don't see it until like 9:40 something, I'm just like, really, Hulu? So anyway, they're deciding on watching two different shows, and I think one of them might be, if I got it right, it might be the longest running British show or UK show, as far as soap operas go. If, because I'm not gonna lie, I was half-ass paying attention to it, and I was just like, what's going on? Anyway, you get the door, and it's Mac and Felicia. They're like, hey, let's sit there and watch some Hulu. And, Felicia's like, hey, how about we just go and stargaze? It's so much of a nice night outside. Okay, so she pulls Anna out there, and Robert's in there talking to Mac, and Robert's like, what's going on? Now, the joke is, and this is somewhat of a sad joke, but the joke is, Mac is sitting there thinking that Felicia wants to have another child, and Felicia thinks that Mac wants to have another child. So they're going through this whole thing. And, at first they sit there and is worried that, what are we going to do? She wants another child or he wants another child. They get nervous about it. But then, they both kind of realize that they might possibly want to have another child. They talk about being great grandparents and stuff like that. And like, they enjoy it so much that they kind of start thinking about the fond memories. Start thinking about the fond memories of, Georgia and Max when they were little. It's now both of them are thinking about having another child. Now, watched my review a couple of days ago. I went pretty hard on Felicia, and I don't take any of that back. I meant everything of what I said. She deserved all the smoke that I was giving, and it's all true. I don't understand how Felicia, in her mind, is talking about wanting to have another child when she abandoned her two children to run off and play spy with Frisco. And then, just to be very clear, I'm surprised that Mac wasn't a little insulted. I mean, he had to sit there and do the day-to-day job of raising two and eventually three girls by herself while she was off sitting there playing spy. So the fact that she was all like, oh, well, you remember when Georgie and Maxie were little and stuff like that? And I'm like, hey, you remember when you left me to take care of two girls by myself? Like, seriously, you remember that? Oh, also, you remember when you left me to sit there and take care of children that weren't technically biologically mine to run off and play spy with your husband or baby daddy or whatever the hell you want to sit there and call them? Which, yes, I understand. He loved them like they were his own. Okay? But not sit there and take away that love, that affection, and that connection, regardless of if they are biologically or not. But again, I'm just perplexed by that whole thing. Um, but yeah, she sits there and talks about that, and Anna's like, is this something you want to do? And Felicia's all like, oh, given our age, and I'm not gonna lie, I completely checked out of this story. Um, I just completely checked out of it. Let's talk about the other part of this episode that I am just, and this is the Sonny portion. So Sonny is clearly lonely. He goes in his place and, he sits down and he's bored. And so he makes some meatballs for one of his, goons. And at first the goon's like, nah, I'm good. I'm supposed to be watching my post. I'm like, um, your job is to actually do what he tells you to do. So I don't like, what? But he makes some food for him. And, the guy enjoys it. And he asks Sonny, like, yo, you okay? You good? Because, I mean, how often is he sitting there just hanging, kicking back with, his foot soldiers? Like, he doesn't strike me as the type of person that really just kind of hangs out. It's like, hey, you want to get the boys together to sit there and play some cards? No. So it was odd, even to him. So he goes back and he sits down and he goes to sleep and he dreams of being in Nixon Falls with Lenny. Now, when I saw Lenny and I saw him with the cowboy hat, I was like, okay, I got some feelings about this. Partly sitting there thinking, so we just don't know what to do with Sonny today, but we got to sit there and put him on a roster. Okay, this seems like it came out of the blue, like you really wasn't necessary, but we're just gonna find a way to cram you in there anyway. That's what that seemed like to me. But I guess I've always been a bit of a softie. So there was a part of me that saw Lenny, and I kind of smiled because Lenny meant a lot to Sonny. So there was a part of me that did kind of smile. And Lenny and Sonny is there talking about Nina and how he should go for it, and life is too short, and this, that, and third, and I mean, it was a nice little talk, and a place that he really felt was his home for a while. But I'm also just like this. I guess the whole point of Lenny being there was to motivate Sonny faster, to fast track his relationship with Nina. Okay, cool. Felt like this scene was somewhat unnecessary, but I'll let it slide because I'm somewhat of a softie, so whatever. So Nina goes to Charlie's to talk to Phyllis about Sonny and everything of that nature. And then Valentin shows up. And I, I honestly feel like in this episode, I felt like this episode had very little to no sense of direction. Okay, from the Lenny and Sonny scenes, which seems sweet but somewhat pointless, to Mac, Felicia, and Robert and Anna, which was like, what? So now this scene where he's sitting there talking, when she's sitting there talking to him about Charlotte and boarding school, and Nina forgiving Valentin for, Valentin deceiving her, and she was like, I understand it was out of, it was out of love or whatever, is to give me something that I wanted, and so I understand and I forgive you, and yeah, that was about it for more or less. And then they leave. And then, Phyllis is closing up the bar and she feels Lenny's presence. I liked it. I thought it was a very nice moment. I will definitely sit there and say it's a very nice moment. Um, Somewhat sad a little bit, but a nice moment. Most of Smith there wondering, is this like an, way of easing us into the fact that Liz's whole stalker could be a ghost, could be something paranormal. So I don't know. I just thought about that as I was finished watching the episode. Like, hmm. So Michael and Willow, see Brandon and Sasha, and she comes over and she's like, "Hey, I went away with you. This is okay." And Willow was like, "No, it's fine. Hang out and be with us or whatever." And for the most part, I've been trying to push aside the fact that I feel that since Willow is all emotional about her mother and her condition and hoping that she's going to get better and everything else, that she's somehow just being like, the person who hit her with the car is sitting 2 feet away from me. And I'm not even angry. I'm not mad at this person. I'm not disappointed at this person. I'm just not anything. I've been trying to push that away for quite a while. And we got to get into this Carly and Harmony part. So Harmony starts confessing and starts being apologetic about trying to kill her and Alexis and just wanting to do what's best for her daughter and yada 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 yada. She's doing all this stuff off her chest. She's doing all this stuff off her chest because she feels like, well, this is pretty much the end. And she does eventually talk because I kept sitting there wondering. Carly knew that Harmony wasn't her bio mom. But I kept sitting there wondering, did she know who was her bio mom? She did. Into today's episode. She finds out that, because she kept sitting there saying, you need to sit there and protect Willow, you need to protect Willow. And of course, they do what they normally do in these shows, draw everything out until the end. She finally tells her that Nina is, her bio mom and she's toxic and her love will smother her and this, that, and the third. Tells her about, the fact that, Nina, well, now is her twin sister, paternal, because, she tells her all this, and then she goes into cardiac arrest, and TJ comes in there, he tries to save her. I'm gonna be completely honest, I have not really have a lot of use for TJ. I don't think he's a really great character, I don't think he's a terrible character, but I don't think he's a great character either. But I felt bad for TJ when he lost his first patient. I have this admiration for anyone that can come in and try to save a life, doesn't work out, and is compete and can be completely detached. I I don't understand. I mean, and not just detached, but detached to the point where you're able to sit there and give bad news, and still go about your day like you have to, like you're some sort of, I wouldn't sit there and say robot, but you got to sit there and keep pushing through. That is That is a skill set that I don't even know if I even want to have, but it's an amazing one, to sit there and say the least. So yeah, Harmony dies, and Carly comes back into the waiting room or the area or whatever, and she's like, "You need to go to ICU." And at this point, Brando and Sasha already know what that's about. Willow comes in there, and she's crying, and TJ looked like he's about ready to fall apart. And here's the thing. For me, it was a sad scene. It wasn't. I'm not empathetic to Willow, so I don't want to sit there and come across as a dick and be like, oh, I didn't really exactly feel anything for her, but like, I feel bad for her for losing her mother, even though her mother was an extremely toxic and extremely deadly person. Okay. So I kind of had mixed emotions about like, I feel bad for her that she's crying about her mother, but her mother is a really terrible human being. So it's a little perplexing. I think I think it was just probably more sad just to watch someone die in the hospital. Like, I'm not gonna. I, this is not gonna be a "This Is Us" moment. I am not gonna go there. But I would just sit there and say it was sad to watch someone die in the hospital, regardless if it was Harmony, whoever. Because to be honest, I looked at the whole Harmony situation like there's only two ways that this character can. There's only two directions this character's gonna go: death or jail. And either one of those, we are most likely not going to see Harmony again. Now, I do remember going on her page, and somebody asked her a question, like, "Oh, why do we not see you on the opening credits?" And the actress like, "Well, there's a reason for that," but she doesn't allude to what the reason is. So people are just like, "All right, well, now I want to know what's the reason." And I thought about that when her character got killed off. I'm like, of course, for some odd reason on B&B they still show Finn because reasons. But it was an emotional scene nonetheless. Sasha is in the bathroom, and this is another one of those she is losing it because she feels like she is responsible for Harmony's death. Sat there as she was throwing down the pills, she was like, if the cops would have found this in my system, I would have been donezo. Which is true because the reporter or the paparazzi also saw pictures of her and everything like that. So if he wanted to, he could sit there and just throw dirt on her name. I mean, I don't want to sit there and generalize all paparazzis, but a lot of them are very soulless creatures. Okay. Unfortunately, what we saw in General Hospital is not that far fetched from what they are in real life. You know. So I'm wondering if that's going to sit there and come up. Now she does wind up flushing down the pills. Brando comes in there and she's all like, "Oh, I'm fine," and this, that, and the third. I'm like, bro, is it either A, this is going to set it, this is going to scare her straight, or B, she's just going to sit there and give some more pills later on. And yeah, did she actually get therapy the first time around? Like, I'm wondering, did she actually get? I mean, I know she went to meetings and everything like that, and I guess that is part of therapy. Um, for her drugs or whatever. But I feel like in this case, she really, 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 really needs therapy. And granted, I will sit there and say, therapy is not a solution. It's not a cure-all. It's not an instant fix, but it's a start. And I feel like in severe situations like that, it's um it's a very important option. I guess whatever Lenny said to him, it worked. The stuff he was saying to him, because Sonny did wind up calling Nina, left her voicemail, and just, kind of, really seemed like he wanted to appreciate her and found out how good it was to sit there and see her and all that good stuff. So that's something. Like I said, it's going to start to fast track, um, their relationship. And there was one point that he did sit there and talk about Michael and his falling out and how, he was saying that he wasn't willing to quit on him, but, it's just really rough. Now, to sit there and say to Lenny that you aren't ready to quit on Michael, but then tell Michael that if you want my forgiveness, you are going to have to beg. I don't know. Does that sound like quitting to me? Because that sounds like that's a hard line to stand. Sit there and tell your child that if you wanting to forgive him from me, you're gonna beg. It's also a very dickish thing to say, so there's that. Um, it was nice that he was sitting there talking, giving advice about Nina, but I guess to be fair, Lenny didn't have children, and I guess he couldn't really sit there and give him advice on a subject that he didn't really, have knowledge about. With, Phyllis and love and everything like that, cool. I feel like that's about it. Really do. I feel like that's about it. So with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. And I'll see you in the next video.